So, as just to qualify, I mean, I've been a lifelong Priest fan. We've talked many times.
Oh yeah, beautiful.
You've signed many things
Wow.
for me.
Yeah.
But this is something different. This is completely different. This is
completely different.
This is raw, and this is real, and this is honest.
Well, sorry to jump in because you just triggered something in my mind. I haven't really thought about it in all my millions of Zooms I've done.
Yeah.
Really, it's got the same elements. It's got the same essence of all the Priest music that we make and the shows that we give everybody, that we share with our fans around the world. And that is this raw, true, honest performance.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not that far removed from what I do as the singer for Priest, although obviously there's a lot of non-Priest activities in this book.
Well, that's what I mean. I think it's very brave of you, first of all. I think it's brave of anybody to go back and to really, really talk about everything. I think everybody's thought of it at one point, but they're like, oh, I'll leave that part out, or I'll leave that part out. You haven't left, I mean, I don't know, but it doesn't seem like you've left much out.
We left some parts out that would have ended up me going up into court and yabbering with a legal, perspectives, because we say in the book that some names have been changed for whatever.
Sure,
and that's just being kind. That's just being kind. And there was so much stuff left over, though. I don't know what we're going to do with it. The stuff that we legally would find difficult, but lots of other anecdotes. Because man, I've been doing this for so long, and anecdotes run side by side with rock and roll, especially on the road. I could do a book of rock and roll antics. That's for sure. But it's just me. It's just the stuff that connect all the dots from when I was a kid to where I am now. I
thought it was really interesting to, and I've heard of the background from all you guys that grew up in some of those harder parts of the UK. You hear it from Ozzy, but you really paint that picture of crossing that bridge. And, I know how uncomfortable I've been when I've been in, maybe a factory, a dusty factory for 5-10 minutes, been around someone who's been sawing wood and I don't have a mask on, but you guys, that grew up in those areas really had to deal with a lot.
Yeah.
It sounds like it was I think you can understand why it made you tough.
You think about climate change now, you have no idea what it was like back then. Oh my God, the whole world was covered in a blanket of soot.
Yeah.
I think that's probably what kicked it all off. But I say, don't I, Jason, in the book, I go over the canal bridge, or the cut as we call it.
Yeah.
Past the big metal factories on my left and my right, and there's all this stuff spewing out, even before a note of metal has been made, and I'm breathing in the fumes. I dare say we all did. In the Midlands. But it's kind of a sweet kind of a parallel that runs with that side of it. Yeah, I mean, again, I count my blessings for the part of the mental makeup as to who I am, because when you're a young person, that stays with you for the rest of your life.
And that's it. I'm a dad. I've got a 16-year-old and a 13-year-old, and I really realize how much I go into. I've gone into shaping them as people. I mean, they have their own experiences, but those crucial, those experiences you have of those crucial first 9-10 years will really form you. So it's just cool to see a young Rob Halford, and I kind of get it now a little bit more.
Especially the. I'm just trying to think of like those early talent shows.
Well, yeah, and when you talked about
where I'm in the front of the class.
Yeah, and I love that story. I don't want to give anything away because I really encourage people to read this book because it's fantastic. But I really love that story when your teacher asks you to sing and then brings you from class to class, and you're like, okay,
It's beautiful, isn't it?
It really is.
I had no idea what a voice was in those days. I mean, it was there. It was waiting to happen, so to speak. I think that was something of a catalyst that I really wasn't aware of until I started to truly understand the joy and the pleasure and the necessity of music in my life.
Did you ever think that you would be able to have the discipline to sit down and write a book?
Oh, that's a good question. Because as I've gotten older, my mind's going in about a million directions at the same time. It seems to have always been that way. Oh, thank God for Ian Gittins, because he really steered me through the whole life cycle of events. I've never made a book like this before, and probably won't ever be another one. There might be an amended one. Amended, you know, more bits, other bits.
Sure. Yeah,
other
of course.
Extra confessions.
Right.
No, he made it very, very comfortable for me. Even going through some of the darker memories that we had to really use because they're vital. It was amazing. Just very quickly, Ian approached our priest management years ago for an opportunity to do this book. And I didn't even know much about the guy then. I just said, no, but it's very kind of you to make the offer, but I'm not ready yet.
Right.
So when we finally get together, one of our first phone calls that we had, he goes, I'm from the same place as you. I said, what do you mean? Because he's got a Brummie accent, Midlands accent. He said, no. He said, I'm just from the other side of Walsall. I go, you kidding me? He goes, no. He said, I've walked the same streets as you and gone to the same schools as some of your family.
Yeah.
My niece and everything and all of this stuff. I'm like, well, how crazy, but how cool is this? Because I felt very comfortable with him, and that I think is important when you make this kind of book, when you're working with somebody else. You have to be very, very comfortable, and the comfort really lets you kind of bring everything out from your heart.
And I think there has to be a level of trust in the relationship, obviously, too. Because I mean, you're like you mentioned, you're going to some dark places, but it's nice. I got to say, it was a really fun read. I wanted to ask you, and I see it behind you. I don't want to get too off because I know we're here to talk about the book, but I see behind you. You've become a staple in my holiday music for a while now, and you. I love Christmas. When did you start your love of Christmas, and how come you've held on to it for so? You really love Christmas, and I think that's what I love about you is that you really love the holidays as much as I do.
So this is the spiritual thing happening. I only put this up like 1 minute before the Zoom broadcast.
Really?
This is the first time I put it up because I thought I've got a Christmas tree box in the corner in my Zoom room that I'll be delving into later over this weekend in preparing for the big thing. And I thought, I'll just put this up, because it's around this time that we start to think about the holidays, and what with all the horrible pandemic and everything, I think we're just looking forward to relax a little bit, no matter how difficult it might still be. We need to have some joy, and the joy includes music
right
through the holidays. And this is the second go at that type of experience.
Yeah.
And I had a blast. Yeah. I don't know whether you and I have talked about this before. We've known each other forever, and we've talked about lots of stuff on Sham. But yeah, it means a lot to me, and it totally relates to this Confess book on that spiritual side of my journey and my faith and so forth. So it seemed like a very natural thing for me to do. The first one was the winter songs.
Yeah.
And then some years later, the feeling came again. I wonder what the opportunity would be. And my label was so beautiful and supportive, Legacy, and, through the Sony family. And so we were able to make this second one. But of course, it's extra special because I got my brother on drums, and my nephew Alex on bass, Ian Hill's son, and Susan, my sister's on the jingle bells. Just a really nice setup. And quickly, the story is that these guys they're not professional musicians. They all work. They all come home. They get changed. They run off to this rehearsal studio, make music. And this is an homage to all of these musicians of that nature as much as anything else. But yeah, I haven't listened to these since last Christmas. I shall probably put this on the turntable a little bit later on today and try and remember what I've done, because I've done so much in music.
I think what was nice about that record, and I have it as well, it feels like you were just a family doing some Christmas carols around the holidays, and that's what it felt like. It had a family feeling within the record, so it's nice.
I'm glad that comes across, because Christmas time is for families and friends and relatives and everybody, and it's just that kind of pushes that idea forward.
You and I have similar friends. We're both friends with Bill and Bob.
Oh yes.
You touch on that quite a bit in the book. It really does make a difference I find when someone does get sober and then gets a second go at it. There's almost this appreciation, because you can when you're in the throes of addiction, you can come so close to throwing it all away. And I find that there's nothing better than an alcoholic or an addict in recovery that finds that flame again creatively, because they're unstoppable.
Yes, we are, absolutely. I'm so glad that you've shared that, because it's important. It's very, very true. The clarity that I got was immediate once I started stuffing all that kind of stuff in my body. And I noticed instantly two things. Firstly, I sang better. I appreciated live performing for the first time in my life on a different level of clarity. And that naturally went into the next set of songs and recording sessions after the Turbo album. Again, it's a timeline of improving yourself. So that's another part that has to be talked about in the book. You know, it's one thing to say, you know, I'm going to quit. And it's another thing to do it. And then it's another thing to actually share the stories of you know, the new chances that you get.
Yeah. And it truly is a great way of life, because I would never go back to it. It's been almost 28 years for me now. And
Congratulations.
I caught it young, and and it's nice. It's always nice to talk to somebody who's on that same path, because it really, really does make a difference. And I think you're a role model for so many people. You know, you're a role model for metal singers. You're a role model for people that might be struggling with their sexuality. You're a role model for someone that may be struggling with their inner demons when it comes to addiction. So you've done a lot of good, Mr. Halford, and I thank you for that. I really do.
That's very generous of you, and I really appreciate those kind words. Thank you, Jason.
Just lastly, this must be a frustrating time for you as a live performer, because, and I know you live for the stage. What's it like for you?
I was looking, I didn't. I'm sure this has happened to you, but you know, when you're an addict, you swap one addiction for another. I don't know what yours is, but mine is my Instagrams.
Do you want to see what mine is?
Yeah, sure. Let me see.
Designer toys.
Oh yeah, that's cool. Have you seen the Rob Halford one?
No.
Yes,
the Super Sevens.
Rob
Yes,
Halford one. Yeah, I've got to get one of those. They're going to send me some eventually. I'll put that on the shelf with my cats, stuffed cats. But I swap one addiction for another, and now it's a little bit like, you know, social media with my Instagram at Rob Halford Legacy, which has got like over 500,000 fans now. Thank you so much. But this is leading to live shows, because somebody put a clip up of the start of a Firepower show, and it was in Seattle, and it's just the drapes from a fan perspective on the phone.
Yeah.
And don't stump me on the phones. They're watching the show, and then the music is playing, and the crowd is chanting, and the lights are flashing, and I got really emotional, because I'm like, oh God, I so miss this. I really miss it, because that part of performing completes me, you know, and it does for the rest of us, and especially for our fans. We miss each other desperately. Thank goodness we've got a way of, you know, communicating our feelings and our love, and, you know, texting and Facebooking and Zooming. But it's been absolutely terrible, because music in one of its finest and most glorious forms is when it's played live, and when you've exchanged the emotions between each other, of
course,
you know. So please God, let us be able to get back to that in 2021. We are supposed to be back out on the road. Is it very late May, early June? We kick off in Europe. We'll be going all around the world again, trying to get this 50th anniversary off the launch pad. We had everything ready, man. We had it all ready, you know. We were just about to go into production with the big stage set and the lights and the new set list. We had some great ideas for songs that we'd never played before. We're all getting buzzed and excited and ready, and it's just like somebody presses a button and goes, stop, and you think, well, this isn't going to last more than a week, you know.
Yeah, I know.
It's like
I know.
A month, and then it's 6 months, and now it's like, I don't know, is it 8 months, 10 months?
Yeah, it's 8.
The other thing is, you lose sense of time, don't you? Well, it's 2 seconds ago since it was last Christmas. Now Christmas is around the corner.
And it's crazy, because this is the longest I think I've ever gone in my life without seeing a live show since I started seeing live shows. Never gone. So, but the one good thing is that I think you can relate to this. I have no problem when, you tell me, you say, okay, you got to do this, 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 and this.
Yes.
And you've got to follow these rules.
Rules.
You don't know what's going to happen, and you've just got to trust in the process and stay in the moment.
That's right.
I've been training for this for 27, 28 years. I'm good.
Exactly. Exactly. And I'm with you there. With you there, because it is one day at a time for people like ourselves. So we are disciplined. That's something else. When you're in recovery, you become a very disciplined person because you don't really have any other choice.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're going to go back to how it was before. We never want that to happen. But so I just want to send all my love from Priest to all of the Sham fans, all of our beautiful fans throughout your part of the world, and say, we'll see you again. This thing we're going to have to learn to live with. This thing it's like the flu.
Yeah,
we're going to have to learn to live with this thing, and this vaccine is just one tool in the way of recovery. But the facts are that, believe the scientists because they're the experts. This is what they do for their lives. They're committed to making lives better for people. And the prognosis is that everything should be secure enough for us all to start going out again. And it looks like whoever made this choice and decision, I think they made the right one, because I think it's going to be very tricky for bands to try and go out on like January the 1st, 2021.
Yeah.
I think by the summer, everything will have been settled, and hopefully the vaccine will have been administered to hundreds of millions of people. And I think we'll still have to go through some protocol, which is nothing, which is a small price to pay. Get your temperature done, and maybe wear a mask. It doesn't matter. Yeah. As long as we'll be back with each other again. And so, optimism.
Well, I encourage people while they're sitting at home to read this, because it's a great read.
Yeah, that's something to do. That'll kill a few hours.
And Rob, thank you so much. As gracious as always, and it's always nice to chat. And I can't wait to see you again on the road. And thank you again. This was really, really a treat.
Thank you, Jason. Much love to you and your family. Have a great holiday season. I'll see you in 2021.
Absolutely. Take care, Rob.
See ya.
Thanks.
Bye.
Man.